So I want to create one UI with the help of Lightning, and in that UI I want to display some information. So I want to display student name, Toransu Seni, student course, and I want to display branch. And I'm writing roll number. That UI I want to create. So first I will discuss how can we debug it. Means how can we display it console screen. Then I will teach you how can we display it on visualforce page. After that I will tell you how can we display it on Lightning. Simple, I'm going on developer part. I'm going to create one Apex class. So student example. Last name I've written. And in that class, I'm going to create some variable. So I want to store student in name information. Then I want to store course, branch, and roll number. So for roll number, data type, it would be integer. But for name, course, branch, these are in that we will write only letter, alphabetic letter. So we can use string data type. So for roll number, I'm using integer data type. Then what I'm doing, I'm going to create the constructor, and I'm giving some name to that variable. I'm assigning the name. So number is 0. Now what I want to debug it. So for that system dot debug student name. It should be then you write variable name. So whatever the value in that variable, it should be the student name. Same thing. So whatever the value in course variable, it should be displayed. Branch variable, it should be displayed. So now I'm going to debug it. So when I will debug it, click on debug only, you can see the output. Student name, bronze, any course, BTech branch, CS roll number 1. So that UI I have created, I have displaying on console screen. So first task has been completed. First task, the console screen. Now that information I want to display on visualforce page. So how can we display? Simple, create one visualforce page. Click on file, click on new, and click on visualforce page. Click on OK. So if you want to use the class, so write controller in visualforce page and write the class name. So these variable, in that variable there is some information. I want to pass to the visualforce page. So how can we pass it? How can we pass the value? So simple, write any name. Student name, it should be displayed. Course. So whatever the value in name variable, that value I want to pass in visualforce page. So how can we pass? With the help of expression we can pass. So simple, you have to write expression and write variable name. So it was the name. So in course, I want to give the course variable. So in the form of expression, you have to pass it. So whatever the value in the branch, it should be displayed. It should be displayed here. So in branch, what I have written, I've written CS. Whatever is the value in that variable, it should be displayed. So I have written. But I will get one error. Unknown property. Unknown property. So if you want to get the value from name variable, if you want to get the value from variable and you want to display it on visualforce page, so we use get set method. So for that we use get set method. So I use constructor whenever page will whenever page will reload. So all constructor will fire, and then there is variable name. Some value will assign in that variable, and that value will pass to the visualforce page. Simple. I'm clicking on preview button. Okay. I have forgotten to save it. So I click on the preview button. You can see student name, Quran course, BTech branch, CS roll number. So I want to create that UI I have created with the help of visualforce page. So now what I want, that UI I want to create with the help of Lightning. That UI I want to create with the help of Lightning. So how can we create? So in visualforce page or in Apex class, we storing the information in variable. Quran course information, branch information, roll number. These information we are storing in the variable. But in Lightning, these information we store in attribute. We store in attribute. So simple, click on submit button. So I'm going to create one component. So I want to store student name. So for name, I am going to create one attribute or a attribute. So for attribute, you have to write the name, attribute name you have to write. So I'm writing name. So I have created one attribute name is name. In that attribute, I want to store string value. Type is equal to string. Default value you can write. So in Apex class, public string name is equal to Quran Sani. So default value I have written Quran Sani. So in attribute, I have also given default value. And you can also give the access for that attribute, public, private, global, whatever you want to make to that attribute. You can write global also. So I'm going to create four attributes. In first attribute, I want to store name. In second, I want to store course. In third attribute, branch. And in fourth, roll number. So in course, string information. Branch type, it would be string. But for roll number, it would be integer. So in roll number attribute, I want to store integer information. So I've written integer. Default value you can write. Tab. So default value you can write here. Access is equal to public. So attribute I have created. Now what I want, whatever the value in that attribute, I want to pass it. So how can we say here? If you want to take any value from the attribute in Lightning, so we have value provider. With the help of value provider, we can get the value of the attribute. How we write value provider? Expression v dot attribute name. So v is a value provider. It will provide the value, whatever in the attribute. Whatever the value in the attribute, it will give the value. So in visualforce page, what we use? We use simple expression only. Expression, variable name. But in Lightning, what we do? We use value provider. V dot attribute name. So in student, I want to display name attribute value. Then course. So whatever the value in course attribute, I want to display. Simple v dot course value provider dot attribute name. It will give the value of that attribute. D dot attribute name. It will take the value of the attribute. save it. So component I have created. Now I want to call that component in any application. So create one application. I'll go to Lightning application and call the component in the application. How can we call component in the application? Simple, right? C colon component name. So it's a way of calling the component in the application. Now I want to preview it. Click on preview button. So you can see student name, course, these things. Let me remove one break line. Student name, Quran Sani, course, BTech, branch, CS, roll number 1. So same UI I have created with the help of line. So if you want to create, if you want to display some information, so in Lightning, so first create the attribute. In attribute, we store why we create attribute for storing the information. So it's a way of creating the attribute. Then how can you call the value from attribute? How can you get the value from the attribute? So with the help of value provider, with the help of value provider, with the help of value provider, we can get the value.